Breaking news from the heart of British politics. The Labour Party's annual conference in Liverpool has just become the epicenter of the most dramatic political crisis Britain has witnessed in decades. What started as a routine party gathering has exploded into a desperate fight for survival that could reshape the entire political landscape. If you want to stay ahead of stories that are literally changing the world as we speak, hit that subscribe button right now because what you're about to hear will shock you to your core. Here's how a British Prime Minister went from landslide victory to political catastrophe in just 15 months. The scene outside Liverpool's conference centre tells the entire story of a government in crisis.
Both in my conversation and what he said to the kids this morning was just how much this Labour conference is all about going after reform. He even said this morning at that meeting with those kids that reform would tear the country apart.
I think it is a real sign of just how divisive they are, and that their politics and their policies will tear this country apart. We are a proud country where we bring people together, and we're proud of our diversity. It is who we are. It is what it is to be British, that we are able to be reasonable, pragmatic, tolerant, live and let live, and to tear away at that will destroy our country. I feel very, very strongly about this.
And that's the backdrop that the Prime Minister himself is choosing to set for his own party conference, which tells us a lot.
100 protesters with British flags demanding justice for farmers and opposing digital ID cards that Labour just announced as their latest crackdown measure. Tommy Robinson supporters screaming obscenities at Labour delegates, while Palestinian activists chant radical slogans and wave banned terrorist organization flags. Police arrested 66 people for breaking anti-terrorism laws. This isn't normal political opposition. This is a government so toxic that even their own conference has become a war zone. But here's what makes this crisis absolutely unprecedented. During his conference speech, Keir Starmer launched an extraordinary attack on his political opponents, specifically targeting Nigel Farage and Reform UK. In front of his party faithful, Starmer accused Farage of not believing in Britain, of wanting people to doubt the country as much as he allegedly does. The Prime Minister went even further, declaring that those who oppose his immigration policies, particularly deportation plans, are enemies of the nation itself. His exact words still echo through Westminster. "We will fight you with everything we have because you are the enemy of national renewal."
We will smash the gangs, we will crack down on illegal working, we will remove people with no right to be here, and we will secure Britain's borders. But there is a line, a moral line. And it isn't just Farage who crosses it. There are also people who should know better, sowing fear and discord across our country. And then when we call it out, they pretend that we're criticising reasonable concerns about immigration. We have seen that trick conference. So let us spell it out once and for all. Controlling migration is a reasonable goal. But if you throw bricks and smash up private property, that's not legitimate. That is thuggery. Thank you, conference. Free speech, free speech. Free speech is a British value and we have guarded it for centuries. But if you incite racist violence and hatred, that is not expressing concern, it's criminal. And this party, this great party, is proud of our flags. Yet if they're painted alongside graffiti, telling a Chinese takeaway owner to go home, that's not pride, that's racism. And conference. If you say or imply that people cannot be English or British because of the colour of their skin, that mixed heritage families owe you an explanation, that people who've lived here for generations, raised their children here, built their lives here, working in our schools, our hospitals, running businesses, are our neighbours. If you say they should now be deported, then mark my words, we will fight you with everything we have, because you are the enemy of national renewal.
What followed was unprecedented in British political history. Nigel Farage delivered an immediate live response to Starmer's speech, something never before seen at a party conference. Standing before cameras, Farage accused the Labour Party of being obsessed with him, stating that Starmer had descended into the gutter with his rhetoric. He warned that calling reform supporters racist endangers the safety of elected officials and campaigners. In a voice shaking with anger, Farage declared that he once thought Starmer was a profoundly decent human being, but now believes he is unfit to be the Prime Minister of our country.
Is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace. I used to think the Prime Minister was a decent man, somebody that I could talk to and chat to. We might disagree on worldview, but I thought he was a profoundly decent human being. I am completely shocked at his behaviour. I hope when he wakes up tomorrow morning, he feels ashamed of what he has done. This is a desperate last throw of the dice from a Prime Minister who's in deep trouble, a Prime Minister who can't even command the support of half of his own party. But I'm sorry to say, I now believe that he is unfit to be the Prime Minister of our country.
The political establishment was stunned by the ferocity of this exchange. Farage went on to outline Reform UK's immigration policies, deporting illegal migrants, limiting benefits to UK citizens, removing foreign criminals, and condemned Labour for calling these policies racist and immoral. He argues that the Prime Minister is effectively calling millions of British voters racist for wanting border control.
Deported from our country, and as I speak, a further 400 have crossed the English Channel today. Reform want the benefit system to be for UK citizens, for British citizens only, not for foreign-born nationals. Reform want foreign criminals removed from our country ASAP. Labour says these policies are racist and immoral, and by implication, Reform supporters, Reform voters, Reform sympathisers are racist too. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists. Now, I don't normally worry about abuse being thrown at me. I've got kind of used to it over the course of the last few years. But to accuse countless millions of being racist is a very, very low blow. Why? Well, this language will incite and encourage the radical left. I'm thinking of Antifa and other organisations like that. It directly threatens the safety of our elected officials and our campaigners. And frankly, in the wake of the Charlie Kirk murder, I think this is an absolute disgrace.
This language, Farage warned, could incite violence from radical left groups and threaten the safety of democratically elected representatives. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer has just achieved something no British Prime Minister has ever accomplished. He's become the most unpopular leader in recorded history, not just unpopular, the most hated Prime Minister since polling began in 1977. Only 13% of British voters are satisfied with his leadership. 13%. That's not a political setback. That's complete and total rejection by the British people. Even among his own Labour Party members, less than half support him. His own supporters have turned against him. The numbers are so catastrophic that political analysts are calling it the worst collapse of any newly elected government in British history. Remember, this is the same man who won a massive electoral victory just 15 months ago. The same party that crushed the Conservatives and promised to rebuild Britain. Now they're polling at 20%, while Nigel Farage's Reform UK is surging to 35% and climbing every single day. Farage has positioned this as a battle for Britain's future, describing the country as broken with clogged roads, unavailable GP appointments, and rampant crime in London. He contrasts Reform UK's positive vision for change with what he calls Labour's lack of vision, predicting continued economic, social, and cultural decline under Starmer's failed leadership.
Extraordinary. We all know the roads are clogged in a way they never were before. We all know you can't get a GP appointment. We all know that crime is out of control. So much so that here in London, men don't wear watches, women don't wear jewellery, and don't get your mobile phone out, otherwise somebody on a moped will take it. Britain is broken and it needs fixing. And our vision for the future is the positive one. We believe that we can do it. This Labour conference lacks any vision, and we are going to continue, I'm sorry to say, in economic, social and cultural decline. But Starmer is right about one thing. We are facing a big fork in the road. He is a human rights lawyer who will bow down to foreign courts and to outdated treaties. And he has no idea of the division that open borders have caused within our communities, or indeed the anger and a sense of unfairness that people feel over two-tier policing and two-tier justice under two-tier care. What he and the rest don't understand, and the reason we're leading in the polls, is this country has had enough of a failing, gutless political class. It wants real change. Now look.
The political earthquake is accelerating so fast that Reform could win an absolute majority if elections were held today. From 5 seats to potentially 373 seats in Parliament. That's not just a political shift, that's a complete revolution. And it's happening because British voters have finally seen through Starmer's lies and discovered what he's really been doing with their money. The leaked government documents reveal the most outrageous betrayal in modern British politics. While British war veterans sleep rough on London streets, Starmer's government is spending over £1 billion housing illegal migrants in luxury 4-star hotels with spa services and gourmet buffets. We're talking about decorated soldiers who fought in Afghanistan and Iraq, men who risked everything for their country, literally living in cardboard boxes while people who entered Britain illegally enjoy better accommodation than most working families can afford. The moral contrast is so stark, so absolutely disgusting, that even Labour MPs are refusing to defend it publicly. James Patterson, a Royal Marine who survived 3 combat tours, was found sleeping outside a McDonald's in central London. His military medals were visible on his jacket alongside a cardboard sign reading, "Veteran, please help." While he begged for food, illegal migrants were enjoying hotel room service paid for by his tax contributions. The visual is so morally devastating that it's gone viral across every social media platform. Over 2.3 million posts with the hashtag #VeteransFirst. 45 million engagements. Professional split-screen videos showing migrant luxury suites alongside homeless heroes, huddled in freezing doorways. The content is so emotionally powerful that mainstream news networks are being forced to cover it despite their usual bias toward protecting labor. The international parallels are equally damning for Starmer's government.
The Democrats run, and are they anywhere near recovering?
Well, first of all, the issue is not the bad campaign they ran. But the issue is Joe Biden. James Carville and I fought for Joe Biden not to run. I wrote personal notes to him that I know were delivered to convince him not to run. I tried to get people to run against him, and so
Did you?
there was clarity. It was clarity that I believed Joe Biden running would bring Donald Trump as president. So Biden has a heavy responsibility for what happened here. Now, it doesn't change the fact that the Democrats were really hated coming into the election. Joe Biden was part of it, but it was also a woke party, that wasn't working for working people. Joe Biden refused to talk about the cost of living.
Political strategist Stan Greenberg, who advised Democrats in America, revealed he personally fought to prevent Joe Biden from running for re-election. He states bluntly that Biden has heavy responsibility for Trump's return to power, highlighting the Democrats' disconnect with working people and their perception as a woke party. The same patterns are emerging in Britain, with Labour seen as completely out of touch with ordinary voters' concerns. But then something happened that nobody saw coming, something that has sent shockwaves through the entire British establishment. King Charles III has shattered 70 years of royal neutrality with a public statement that left the political class absolutely stunned. At a Veterans Charity Gala, the King delivered what royal watchers are calling the most politically charged speech of his reign. Those who have served this nation with honor and courage deserve our care before all others, before all others. The emphasis wasn't accidental. It was a direct, devastating shot at Starmer's migrant hotel policy delivered with the full weight of royal authority. For the first time in modern history, Britain's monarch appeared to publicly side against his own prime minister's policies. Palace insiders reveal that Charles has been quietly funding emergency shelters for homeless veterans out of his personal fortune. The king is literally stepping in where his government failed, using his own money to house the heroes his prime minister abandoned. The optics are absolutely brutal for Starmer, a monarch personally funding veteran care while the elected prime minister turns his back. It's a moral comparison so devastating that no amount of political spin can overcome it. The streets are erupting with the largest protests Britain has seen in decades. These aren't fringe demonstrations. These are ordinary families, veterans groups, serving soldiers, and middle-class citizens demanding answers. Their chant echoes through Parliament Square. Homes for heroes, not hotels for migrants. Police have closed Westminster Bridge as crowds swell larger each day. British veterans in wheelchairs, some missing limbs from IED explosions, holding signs asking why illegal migrants get luxury treatment while they sleep on streets. The emotional power is so intense that even hardened police officers have been seen wiping away tears. Inside Westminster, the political earthquake is accelerating. Cabinet meetings have devolved into shouting matches with ministers openly questioning Starmer's judgment. 3 junior ministers have privately warned the Prime Minister that his policies are becoming politically toxic. Over 40 backbench Labour MPs have now publicly distanced themselves from the hotel policy, terrified of losing their seats in the next election. The breaking point came during Prime Minister's questions when Conservative MP Sarah Henderson held up a photograph of James Patterson, the homeless Royal Marine veteran. The House of Commons fell into complete silence as Henderson demanded, "Can the Prime Minister explain why silencing American tech companies is more important than giving this British war hero a warm bed?" Starmer stumbled through his response, visibly shaken and constantly referring to pre-written notes while MPs hammered him with moral outrage. For several agonizing minutes, the Prime Minister looked like a man who had completely lost control of both his party and his country. The international fallout is equally catastrophic. American tech companies are pulling billions from British markets to avoid Starmer's restrictive digital censorship laws. Google is moving its European operations from London to Ireland. Microsoft is transferring key functions to Germany. The post-Brexit economic recovery that Starmer promised is crumbling before his eyes as international investors flee Britain's increasingly authoritarian environment. Even European Union officials are privately questioning whether Britain is drifting toward authoritarianism under Starmer's leadership. From Washington to Canberra, headlines are savage. Britain betrays its heroes. Free speech under siege in London. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage and Reform UK are capitalizing on the chaos with surgical precision. Speaking directly to the British people, Farage has promised that Reform will teach Keir Starmer and the Labour Party a lesson next May that British political history will never forget.
In any way at all. But Reform will teach Keir Starmer and the Labour Party a lesson next May. Next May are our equivalent of the midterms, when the whole of Wales, Scotland, London and many other parts of the country will go out to vote on the first Thursday in May. We will teach Starmer a lesson next May that British political history will never forget. I am now, as a result of this week and the abuse that has been heaped upon our supporters and our voters, more determined than ever. Don't underestimate that.
His Veterans First campaign has surged 8 points in the polls in just 1 week, with working-class voters abandoning Labour in droves. Farage's message is simple and devastating. Britain's heroes deserve better than sleeping rough while illegal migrants enjoy luxury hotels. The moral clarity is so obvious that even former Labour voters are switching sides in record numbers. The question is no longer whether Starmer can survive this scandal. Political analysts agree that his leadership is effectively finished. The only question now is whether his government can last another month without completely falling apart. This isn't just a political scandal anymore, it's become the defining symbol of everything wrong with Starmer's leadership. Detached from reality, morally tone-deaf, willing to abandon British heroes while funding luxury for those who entered illegally. The conference in Liverpool was supposed to be Labour's chance to reset and rebuild. Instead, it's become their political funeral, surrounded by protesters, abandoned by their own supporters, and facing the worst polling numbers in party history. Britain is watching a prime minister self-destruct in real time. This crisis will be studied for decades as a textbook example of moral leadership failure. The political earthquake is just getting started, and the aftershocks will reshape British politics for years to come. At its epicenter stands a man who looks increasingly isolated, increasingly desperate, and increasingly finished. The king sided against him. His own party is abandoning him. The British people have rejected him completely. That's not just political defeat. That's historical humiliation that will define his legacy forever. What do you think? Has Starmer crossed a line that British voters will never forgive? Is this the end of his political career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening in British politics right now. The mainstream media won't tell you the full truth, but we will.